than that. Good morning, everybody. Woohoo, we're here to celebrate today. Thank you all so much for being here today at our 50th anniversary breakfast celebration, known as Prevention Works, previously CASIC, Chautauqua Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Council. So we appreciate everybody being here today. I just want to give a couple of warm welcome to some individuals that are here today. We have the County Executive, PJ Wendell, here today. Thank you so much for being here. We have Borrello's office here today. I appreciate you being here. We have the Undersheriff here today from the department of the Chautauqua Sheriff's Department. Thank you so much for being here. We have Chief Ortolano here. We have Mayor Kate here from City of Dunkirk. Vince DeJoy, thank you for being here. Past Sheriff Joe Gerasi is here as well. We thank you all, our employees, our board, and all of our volunteers and partners that are here today. So thank you so much. Before we get going, I just wanted to say a few opening remarks and introductions. So we wouldn't be here today without the work of a lot of our staff. So I want to give a huge thank you for helping with implementing, preparing for this event. Heidi, if you wouldn't mind standing up, she was a big helper of this. Emily. Thank you. Emily in the back, if you wouldn't mind stand up helping. She has done an amazing job with our slideshows. She compiled thousands of pictures on this slideshow that you were seeing running continuously, so thank you so much for all your help, as well as the rest of our staff that have done occasional projects to make this day happen today. So thank you so much. What I also want to mention is just introducing the rest of our staff. Our staff are probably the most empathetic group I have ever met. They wear their hearts on their sleeves. I think all prevention wears their hearts on the sleeves. I know we've got some prevention providers here today, especially from Erie County. We have Robin Mann, thank you so much for driving so far from Buffalo to come join us. And we have Meg and Dawn from the Catalyst Research that helps us do a lot of our Pride and Clyde survey data that we collect on a regular basis. So thank you for being here. So let's introduce our amazing staff that we have. We have Hope Chautauqua Coalition team, if you wouldn't mind standing up. We have our director, Kelly Potter. We have Lucy, who is our coalition coordinator, and Jameson Jaffray, also a coalition coordinator. We have our intervention team. Where's Tony? He is our intervention services manager, if you wouldn't mind standing up. We have Lindsay, our intervention specialist, and Bree, our intervention specialist. Jen Potter, where is she at? She's actually dual. She's intervention specialist, prevention educator, and now the CyPEP coordinator, which is a new project with Brockton Central School District called the Complete Youth Prevention Education Project coordinator. So that's our intervention team. Now we have our PACS team. Our PACS manager is Tracy Jesperson. Where's she at? There she is. And then our PACS coaches, if you can stand up, we've got Brian and Jesse and Amy and Heidi. And our lead prevention PACS coach is Katie. And let me, round of applause for them. Where's Bree? Bree, stand up real quick. Bree is actually our lead intervention specialist. I forgot to mention that, so way to go, Bree. Then we have our prevention program team, our director of program services, Alicia. And then we've got Ruth, our lead prevention educator. We've got Cassie, Lexi, Sam, Aubrey, and again, Jen Potter. And Aubrey is actually our wellness family coordinator now. She is a full-time parenting provider, so her title has changed as well. So then we have our administration team, which you've met some of them already, but we also have Emily in the back, project assistant. We have Haley. I'm not sure if she's still at the registration table, but there she is at the doorway, waiting for additional people maybe to come in. She's our fiscal assistant and office manager. And then we have Lori Reynolds. Where is she? There she is with her family. Associate director, which her and I started, if you're not aware, we started back together back in 2005 together. So working side by side and learning and growing together at this agency, which we're so appreciative of. I also want to recognize our board of directors. If you wouldn't mind standing, we've got Michelle Starwelt Woods, our board president. Michelle Snars, who's not here today, our vice president. She had a school commitment. Lois Lindell, our secretary treasurer. Mary Carney, past president. Burke Adams, who was also a past president. Laura Geraci. Carol Greco. Rebecca Haynes. Fran Wilson. Billie Jean Hubert, who was unable to be here today. And we have 2 open board director positions. So if you have a dying interest to be a part of our agency and help our mission, by all means, please let us know. We know people are banging on people's doors to be a part of a volunteer opportunity. So please let us know. I'm now, before I turn it over to Michelle, I just wanted to say thank you to Chautauqua Harbor Hotel. Made a mad dash to get our podium ready this morning and making sure all the food is wonderful. So thank you so much for board or all of the staff at the Harbor Hotel. I also want to thank you from Borello's office. We did receive a proclamation. So I just wanted to say the Senator George Borello provided this, commemorating the 50th anniversary of Prevention Works. So again, I just wanted to say thank you so much for that. And Michelle, before you come up, I know PJ Wendell, where is he? I didn't know if you wanted to come up real quickly.
Well, thank you. It truly is an honor to be here. Let me ask, has anybody been here from the founding? Are there any founding members of CASIC? Because you all look too good, okay? If you were one of the founders, trust me, you look great. I just want to say this. Prevention Works, the name itself is amazing. The opioid crisis, the alcohol, the drug abuse that we have here in Chautauqua County is an ongoing problem. But without your prevention, without your help, as I've shared this with several others, you know, we could do better. We're doing a great job. But somebody said we could be doing exponentially worse. And that's right, we could be, but we're not. It's because of the people in this room, the dedication, the commitment you have to working and helping our residents in need is critical. So on behalf of myself and the residents of the county, we'd like to congratulate you. And I know the senators in Albany working very hard for us, but I'm here. So I just have a quick proclamation. In recognition of your 50th anniversary celebration on March 14th in Celeron, New York, Prevention Works' mission to educate communities on positive life choices by encouraging health, wellness, and inclusion. This accomplishment by providing prevention services for alcohol and other drug abuse to Chautauqua County residents in their locations in Dunkirk and Jamestown. Prevention Works continues to make an investment and continues to serve the residents of Chautauqua County, and your service is greatly appreciated. Signed by myself. But again, thank you so much for all you do, Melanie, and everyone here involved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, County Executive PJ Wendell. We really appreciate that. We appreciate the support. So I am now going to turn it over to our board president, Michelle Starwelt Woods.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. So when I was reflecting on this morning, I was considering what draws us as human beings to become a volunteer board member, and what drew me specifically to this board. And I recalled an instance in my young childhood that a man who worked in my neighborhood when I was growing up was one of the friendliest, most jovial people on the planet. And every single day at lunch, and he worked for a large organization, but when he came into our neighborhood, he was solo. And every day for lunch, I grew up in Silver Creek, and he went to Wright's Market in Silver Creek, and he purchased a large can of beer. And that was his lunch. And I remember my father and some of the other men in the neighborhood talking in the backyards one day if they should report him to his employer. I don't think they ever did, because one, he didn't lose his job, and two, he never stopped having his daily lunch at Wright's Market. As I grew up and I entered high school, I became familiar with the children in that family. So the ruddy-faced, jovial man was not always the kindest father to his children. I saw the effects firsthand of what his actions and behavior as an alcoholic caused his family. And I can tell you, to this day, the younger person in the family still struggles desperately as an almost 60-year-old person. So when I met Pam Munson, the former executive director of Chautauqua Alcohol and Substance Abuse Council at what used to be called CCON, Chautauqua County Outreach Network meetings, and she talked about some success stories of what was going on. And she talked about a spaghetti dinner that was coming up. And I dragged my colleagues to the spaghetti dinner, and I followed what was going on with CASIC for most of my adult life. Fast forward, years later, I ended up being asked to serve on the board, which was an honor and a privilege and a blessing. The very first meeting that I attended, and I've told Mel this, as I've told many other people, I was blown away. The collaboration, the communication, the welcoming nature of each and every board member sitting at that conference table gave me chills. And on one of the boards in the conference room was listed every single school that Prevention Works had a program in. Now, anybody who knows me, I always raise that red banner flag. What about the North County? Is the North County being represented? Do we have more board members from the North County? Yes, 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 and yes. That has been CASIC and Prevention Works from the very beginning. Shout out to everyone who's here from the North County, because there's that Mason-Dixon divide sometimes. We are so respected throughout the entire county. Not only the city of Jamestown and the city of Dunkirk, but the outlying communities who often do not get the services that they need. Prevention Works is there. We have become so well respected and so well known because of our outstanding outcomes that people are now coming to us. Municipalities, school districts, medical facilities. We have a stake in all of them at this point after 50 years. One of the things that I am most proud of is our severe and intense commitment and care and concern for our director, Melanie, Mel, as we all know and love her by. And I'm not going to call them staff, and I'm not going to call them employees. They are our prevention specialists. In closing, I want to read something from you and I have written and permission consent from this wonderful young man to share this with you. I shared this with our prevention specialists at our Christmas gathering. This man has admitted that he started drinking at the age of 9. He crossed over to marijuana in his teens, and when he suffered some severe losses in his family, he switched over to heroin, cocaine, and meth. He's been in rehab 10 times. 5 of those times have been inpatient rehabilitation facilities. His last stay was 3 months long. We talked several times a week. We talked about this very day, that he might be by my side so he could explain how very important prevention is. One day he had an assignment in rehab, and the assignment was, if I wasn't an addict, instead of faking it until I make it, I will walk with intent. If I wasn't an addict, you would believe me when I was telling the truth. I would have a job. I would have friends who cared for me just for being me. If I wasn't an addict, I would be someone my parents could be proud of. I wouldn't be ashamed of the me that I have become. If I wasn't an addict, I might be married. I might be a dad. I would run a marathon to raise money for charity. I would look you in the eye when we talk. I would stand up tall. I would smile and laugh more, and I would really mean it. I would be the person that God intended me to be. I'm going to ask our amazing board and our amazing prevention specialists to please stand one more time, because it is because of you that someone like this man, staff and board members, there you go. It is because of you that a little boy or a little girl or a young adult who might be struggling or a senior citizen who's faced hard times listens to you, takes your advice, you wrap them in your love and support, and you teach them what prevention is. In the words of Jeff Silber and Larry Henley, so eloquently crooned by Bette Midler with just a few changes in some lyrics, did you ever know that you are their hero and everything that they'd like to be? They can fly higher than an eagle because you are the wind beneath their wings. In closing, our relationship between the board and our specialists is amazing. And we care for them, and we protect them, and we don't always agree. We made some hard board decisions this year. One is still a trial, majority ruled, but heck, we didn't want to overrule everybody, right, on the board. We made a phenomenal decision, and we worked all together, and that did have the majority vote, where every single full-time employee, after a year, has the entire month of July off with full pay, no vacation time needs to be used, and no disruption of benefits or pension. I felt like Oprah when I announced it to our specialists. When you work for a non-for-profit, you don't have a state pension. You might not have a really good reserve of an IRA. So whatever we can do to recruit more Melanies and more Lories who've been with us for 18 years, you believe me, we're going to continue to do it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting what I refer to as a platinum standard agency in Chautauqua County. Thank you.
I don't know about you, but I got a little teary-eyed there. Michelle tends to do that to us sometimes. Thanks again, Michelle, for your kind words for our agency and all the hard work. It's amazing that 7-8 years ago, we were only in about 6 schools. It's amazing that we struggled to get people to come in to help themselves for substance use, and now we have kids in the hallway asking our intervention specialists if they can come see them. That's huge strides. We're seeing 300 kids or more just for intervention services, where before it was hard just to get them through the door. But we're here to celebrate, so I'm gonna do a little bit of trivia real quick. Those that know me probably think I'm gonna want to sing, which I'm looking at the chief. Chief knows I like to sing, but I won't do that. I'll spare you all. But we are gonna do a little trivia quiz. Who can tell me the year CASIC was established? We're starting out easy. Come on, shout it out. 1974, I heard it over here. Yes, very easy. Thank you, Teresa, at Support Services for the Resource Center. Oh, was that Cindy? 1974 was the year that we were established. And Michelle had already said this, but what was the name of our agency prior to Prevention Works? CASIC, or I'll take Chautauqua Alcoholism and Substance Abuse Council, which is why we called it CASIC. And I already showed you the other trivia question, but what are the 3 pillars of our agency? We would not be able to do our work today if we didn't have these 3 pillars. What are they? Shout them out. Educate, motivate, collaborate. Yes, thank you. You get an extra Danish. I don't really have any prizes today, so that'll have to be it. Or there's bags out there that you can grab, your reusable bags. I want to give a little bit of a history of Prevention Works. So as I was kind of looking back of where we started, it was actually May 1974, with the police and community together. It was called PACT. They started years ago. It was just a group of individuals that had concerns about alcohol in the community. It eventually became the Jamestown Area Council on Alcoholism, established in June of 1974. Then you will see Dunkirk, North County. Where are my North County people? Yes. We realized that there was a concern in that area, so there was an opening of our office in 1979. Because we had to change our name a little bit. Instead of Jamestown, it ended up being Chautauqua County Council on Alcoholism. Our first executive director back in 1979 was David Harris. And then we had Patricia Munson that started, I believe, in 1988. And then we had our established name, CASIC, Hope, Awareness, and Advocacy. We also will see our poster contest. If you're not familiar, it's going on right now. It's our alcohol awareness and theme. Where's our poster contest team? What is the name of our poster contest theme this year? I'm not alone in saying no. If you know a 3rd through 12th grader, please have them submit a poster. We've had support from the Goodell's office, the sheriff's office, the county executive's office, a lot of the school districts participating. So please, it's their way of providing peer pressure in a positive way. Their posters will be eventually put on a billboard. You might see it across the county eventually in April. So that started in 2002. And then we had the Hope Chautauqua Coalition was established. And that was in support by the county, Chautauqua County office. We wouldn't have been able to establish that without Chautauqua Tapestry's help, without Chautauqua County's executive director at the time, a county executive. So we appreciate all the support with that. Then we decided to change our name. We felt that there was a stigma attached to it. And honestly, Brockton, I see Brockton here today, there was a little bit of a cry of thinking we were coming in and counseling all their kids. And so we said, you know what, we want to make sure our name is understood and people know what we do. So our name changed to Prevention Works. And honestly, I think it fits. It fits the work that we do. But there's still so much more that we can do. I will tell you, in the past 2 years, due to all the work of our staff, we've had a little bit of a reduction in alcohol use with our 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. We had a reduction in tobacco use with our 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. But we still have a lot more work to do. These are the programs that we provide. If you have an opportunity during the transition between now and the speakers, there's tables set up, so you get an opportunity to see what our programs are. They're evidence-based prevention programs that have been proven to be effective with reducing early onset of use of substance use or alcohol. It's so important. It's so much easier to prevent than it is to treat. So much easier. Prevention dollars are so important. These are some of the programs that we provide. PACS Good Behavior Game, Triple B Positive Parenting, working with our parents. We are now providing prevention across the lifespan, not just for youth. We now have WISE, which is for seniors. We are now implementing, eventually, Positive Action, which will start next year. We're so excited about that with Brockton and potentially some other schools. Team Awareness, which is for businesses and organizations. Teen Intervene is our intervention program. These are the areas in Chautauqua County where we are at. You will see the green is universal prevention-based programming. What that means is it's been proven to be effective, and so it's a set of lessons that have proven to reduce early onset of use of substances. So we are in, you'll see the Dunkirk School District, Brockton, we're in Fredonia, we're in Chautauqua Lake, Clymer, Panama, Lakewood, Jamestown, Frewsburg. Next year, in September, we will also be in Faulkner again. Our red dots, those are the intervention programs that we are providing. Silver Creek, Dunkirk, Brockton, Chautauqua Lake, Clymer. We are in Southwestern, Jamestown, Frewsburg. Still more work to do, though. We still have a lot more work to do. Awareness presentations, sometimes we get requests, assemblies, but honestly, the true science behind prevention is the green. We need more greens throughout our county. I want to just mention our environmental strategies. We got our Hope Chautauqua Coalition here. So without our services and programs and our environmental strategies, we wouldn't be making a difference. Our Take It to the Box campaign about medication safety, it's so important to dispose of any unused medication, to prevent it from getting into the hands of youth. It's accessibility, availability for our youth. If we want to prevent substance use, we got to make sure we're making those environmental strategies important. If they can't buy it, don't supply it. If they're at 21 years old, we got to make sure that nobody is buying alcohol, marijuana, vape products for our youth. doTERRA bags, if you're not familiar, it's an easy way to dispose of your unused medication in a bag. You add water to it, shake it, it's environmentally safe. You throw it in the garbage. There's more information at the Hope Chautauqua table, which I believe is over there. One pill can kill. We know fentanyl is a big concern in our area right now. We need to make sure that everybody's aware that if they're taking a substance, it could be deadly. Safe use, safe storage, safe disposal, similar to the Take It to the Box campaign. And parents who host lose the most, with the Sheriff's Department has helped tremendously with supporting that message. So why invest in prevention? Here's why. Lori recently was at a conference and got some information from the government on how it benefits not only our youth and families, but also impacts even taxpayers. PACS Good Behavior Game, which is geared towards helping students self-regulate their emotions and co-regulate, which is one of the key signs on suicide ideation, substance use, bullying, mental emotional behaviors. With PACS Good Behavior Game, you're going to see a reduction in those concerns. This is how much they're saying PAC's Good Behavior Game can affect our community related to risky behaviors of youth. $11,000, $571 per student if it's implemented with fidelity. We're fortunate that we are doing this in Dunkirk, Jamestown, doing Brockton next year, starting Faulkner next year. We're looking for another school. So if you know anybody, let us know. Triple P Positive Parenting, again, what Aubrey does, working with families and teaching them the schools to build relationships with their children. $3,629 per student, again, if it's implemented with fidelity. Teen Intervene, $4,187 per student. I mean, the numbers are just amazing to me. You know, we spend so much money on crisis focus, and I'm not taking that away. It's so important. Treatment, recovery, harm reduction is important, but so is prevention. Those in prevention know that we're chasing the funding all the time. Where is it so we can do more? Can we do more? I'll be honest with you, with prevention, our budget from the state has been the same other than the cost of living adjustment. It hasn't increased. That's why we're chasing grants all the time to do more, because we know how important prevention is. Positive action, we're just starting this. We're fortunate to provide the training to our educators. So we will be implementing this now. It's gonna be tough, it's gonna be a hard program, but it is amazing. Our prevention specialists attended the training 2 weeks ago, and were blown away. It talks about grief, it talks about loss, it talks about fear, all of the whys that people start using in the first place. $36,896,000. So PACS and Positive Action, those are the two highest programs to have positive outcomes for our youth. So we need to do whatever it takes. So I say, if you can support, volunteer, invest, advocate for prevention, because that is where we're going to see change. So, enough of me talking prevention. I want to talk about our Mission Mover Awards. Without the work and partnership and collaboration with our partners, we would not be where we are here today. We have this guy or girl pushing a rock. It sometimes seems impossible. But without our partners, it is impossible. And I want to say, just describe the Mission Mover Awards a little bit. This is not just you're helping us move our mission with health, wellness, and inclusion, but you're helping move the mission of a lot of our agencies in Chautauqua County that are working towards community collaboration, working towards relationships, working to help the trauma with our kids and our youth and our families. A lot of the things that we're trying to work for, you guys are helping. So I want to just thank all of the awardees that are here today, and thank you so much for everything you do. So I'm going to start off with the first Mission Mover Award. Let me move things around so I don't drop anything here. So United Way, I want to say United Way actually, I think it was 1978 was the first kind of partnership with United Way, and where we started to receive funding from them. And I want to say this is not just about funding on why United Way is receiving this Mission Mover Award. United Way, if you're not familiar, funds 42 community-based programs, which we have even here today. We have JCLC here today. We have CAP here today. They help fund a lot of these nonprofits that are doing the work to combat trauma and addiction and other social determinants of health. They've actually helped with 29 different partners in Chautauqua County, helping academic success, health and independence, ready workforce and self-sufficiency. You've helped us and allowed us to expand universal prevention and intervention programs in schools in the South County. Your partnership with Hope Chautauqua Coalition with the cultural responsiveness training. 3 opportunities for all of our staff to participate in additional diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings have been provided, one of which allowed us to have an agency and personal assessments on improvements in diversity, equity, inclusion. The ALICE project, if you're not familiar with the ALICE population, It's individuals that have asset limitation, they're income constrained, problems with employment, and they're one emergency or crisis away from being either homeless or having financial struggles. They provided a simulated training for our staff. Also, they've included us on their campaign presentations, allowing us to share our mission and our work and our programs and our services at the Jamestown Police Department, Bush Industries, Cummins, Hospice Palliative Care, Wegmans. So with that, I know Eric from United Way of Southern Chautauqua County is here, so thank you, Eric. So come on up here. We got a little award for you. Photo shot here. Thank you, Eric. All right, I am now going to turn it over to Lori Reynolds, our Associate Director.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm going to go over here so you can see me better. I am now recognizing our County Sheriff's Department, and unfortunately our sheriff could not make it, so if Rich Telford and Josh Strainer can come on up, please. You're the next contestant on the Price is Right. It's my honor to recognize the Sheriff's Department as one of our mission movers for Prevention Works. The Sheriff Department's funds our Stop DWI and drug driving program. This includes funding for any alcohol and now marijuana education and prevention programs. That's the great part, but that's not the best part. Throughout the last years, our partnerships have really grown, not only with Prevention Works, but Hope Chautauqua Coalition. We've worked together on our Parents Who Host Lose the Most campaign, our Stop DWI drug driving campaigns, and also partnered on several events and committees that we belong to. We now can always turn to them if we need their assistance or their support. I believe they feel the same way too. Along with this great partnership, they are certain to include us in all of their efforts. For example, I'm on their Stop DWI Traffic Safety Advisory Board, where I'm free to provide or make suggestions in regards to prevention education efforts. The sheriff invited me to attend the Stop DWI New York State Conference back in October, which was well worth the trip, and I learned a lot about New York State. In addition to our partnership, they have done a lot for our community. They have the start up of the Safety Village, which opened in 2010 under Sheriff Gerasi, participation with the New York State Sheriff's Institute in summer camp, Coffee with a Cop discussions around Chautauqua County, and they have initiated the Re-Entry Hub Through CARES program, which is to support individuals being released from jail to begin a new path and transition back into the community. And this is actually starting April 1st. Prevention Works and Hope Chautauqua truly appreciate our partnership with the Sheriff's Department and are excited to see what's in store for the upcoming years. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I am now going to have Director of the Hope Chautauqua Coalition, Kelly Potter, come on up.
Good morning, everybody. This next award is going to be presented to the City of Dunkirk. Could we have Chief Dave Ortolano and Captain Chris Wachowski please come up? This next award is presented to the City of Dunkirk, not only for keeping us safe, but for all of the wonderful community engagement and pro-social activities and events they participate in. I know they do a lot, but I want to highlight a few that we are aware of because A, I live in North County, go North County, but also because Prevention Works and Hope Chautauqua has had the pleasure to work with them. Some of the highlights and some of the activities and events they participated in are Santa for Seniors with Office for the Aging, Student of the Month breakfast with a police officer, both the Community Reader Day and Reading Day for Dr. Seuss, 30 years with National Night Out in the city of Dunkirk, several years help with Meals on Wheels, delivering meals to seniors, participation in a cultural competence training with the Hope Chautauqua Coalition, providing safe ways for the community to anonymously dispose of expired and unused prescription and non-prescription pills by installing a permanent drop box, one of 13 in the county, and partnering with the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA, to assist and promote National Drug Take Back Day. I'd just like to thank you again for all that you do for us, and congratulations.
Yes, he's my husband. But I'm not the one that said they deserved the award, even though I know they're well-deserved. Hope Chautauqua Coalition and Kelly felt it was very important, so congrats to you guys. The next one is the Chautauqua County Department of Mental Hygiene, and I just want to mention the partnership that we have with the county is just absolutely phenomenal. I remember Rachel Mesmer-Ludwig coming to our Fenton building back in like 2005 or 2006. Just the sweetest person, nicest person you will meet, genuine, and that's where kind of our relationship started. Hope Chautauqua would not be established without their work. Back in 2015, they helped them get the Partnership for Success grant with the epidemic with opioids coming in. They were very supportive of that. So they've also have been partnering and planning and implementing the Hope and Healing Conference for the last 7 years. Providing opportunities for our staff to participate in trainings, including the mental health first aid trainings for adults and youth, suicide prevention trainings, the collaboration with the Chautauqua Substance Abuse Response Partnership with Steve Kilburn, pulling together prevention, treatment, recovery, and harm reduction providers across the same table, coming to the same table to talk about what concerns are in our area and what we need to do, and coming up with strategies and priorities to meet the needs of our community. Also, Chautauqua Tapestry, partnership with nonprofits on the steering committee. It's opportunity to bring all nonprofits together. Allowed us to expand our PPP positive parenting, allowed us to expand our programming in schools. So that's how Faulkner is able to have PACs next year, and we're hoping that Westfield is going to be the second one under that. But there's still more. So that would allow us to have 6 schools. We also have the expansion of Teen Intervene. We are partnered with Southern Tier Pediatrics to provide Teen Intervene within the pediatrics facility. So with that, I would like to thank, and I'm not sure if Carmelo is here, but if not, County Executive PJ Wendell, if you can come and accept this award. I know Katie Young is here as well. You want to come up, Katie? Thank you. All right, Lori Reynolds. She's got 3 more, and then we'll have our transition to our speaker, which I see is here. Hi, James.
Dr. Diaz, if you can come on up. She's representing Southern Tier Pediatrics. And I'm very excited to present this award because not only through Prevention Works, but my children go and see Dr. Diaz and Dr. Khan at Southern Tier Pediatrics, and honestly, without them, they wouldn't be where they're at, so. Okay, a few years back, Mel and I presented Prevention Works programs and services to a few of the pediatric offices here in Chautauqua County. And their office manager, Patty D'Angelo, was there, and she just absolutely loved the idea of partnering with Prevention Works. From there, we got a grant from the county, again, thank you very much, to implement our Teen Intervene and information referral services at no cost to families, and we actually have an office right there at Southern Tier Pediatrics. Throughout the time of initiating this pilot at Southern Tier Pediatrics, they were so more than accommodating. They include us as one of their very own staff and treat us as equal as one of their staff. We all have one common goal: overall wellness for our youth and our families. Since then, we've established even more with Southern Tier Pediatrics. We have Aubrey Shippard, who is our family wellness coordinator, to provide our triple P positive parenting. So when the youth is actually being seen for other services, instead of the parents sitting in the waiting room for an hour on their phone, they can get parenting services while their child is being seen. That is not all that's being done. Oh, I just love you. It's just amazing. In addition to our own partnership, they have gone above and beyond their typical duties. Not only have they included us within their practice, but they also have Chautauqua County mental hygiene clinicians there. So if there's a referral that's needed, then Southern Tier Pediatrics makes that referral. They also have an office so our kids can see one-on-one therapy or counseling right there in their office, so that the family doesn't have to transport them anywhere else or make any other appointments. It's already there. If the practitioner feels that they need anything more than that, they also make more referrals. And it's always so effective because not only do they make the referrals, but they follow up to make sure that it's been done and that they've gotten what they needed. Southern Tier Pediatrics also advocates all the time for the children and families, but they also advocate our mission and our vision. And they are constantly always thinking of us, again, as one of their very own, to make sure that our children and families have that overall wellness. So it is more than my personal and professional pleasure to give you this award. So thank you.
All right. Next, we have one of our board members, Rebecca Haynes. She's fancy like that. I feel like I could sing that song. She has been with our agency for 40 years, which is pretty amazing. She has been at fundraising events, including our spaghetti pasta for prevention days, our bowl-a-thon fundraisers, participating in our chicken barbecues. I remember it was storming and raining, and you were there with us as it was storming. Assisting with the alcohol awareness poster contest ceremony, helping be a judge, helping at the ceremonies, helping with support groups in the community. Oftentimes she'll say, I got a group I gotta go to, and help facilitating those groups in our county. So I appreciate everything that she does for us. She provides a lot of insight, knowledge, and expertise to our board of directors. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for all your work. Yeah, you're good.
Just a couple of words, just to let you know that it's been my pleasure and my honor to serve on not only CASIT, but Prevention Works for many, many years. And I was saying to Michelle's husband, it's just been service with love. I was given the gift of sobriety on May 1st of 1981. And my passion for helping people with addictions has only grown since then. It's probably been the most important thing in my life, actually, when you can write it down to it. So to see people here and to realize that we're pulling together for the same thing, this is important, because when I started on the board in 1984, addiction was not a positive word, let me tell you. But there is hope now, and for that, I'm grateful, and one step at a time, one day at a time, we go forward. And just to close, just briefly, we have the best, and I mean the best, executive director and assistant executive director, and all of our partners, our specialists, and our board members are all absolutely wonderful. So thank you.
Oh, we get a picture?
Oh, do we get a picture?
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, you put Becca on there, that's nice. Instead of Rebecca. Well, because that's what I go by.
And she always has a smile on her face. Always. Always, always. Last but not least, Burke Adams. 40 years plus of of service to our agency. Again, participating in the Pasta for Prevention, the barbecue dinners, prevention work, past president for Prevention Works, poster contest ceremony. He's participated in United Way allocation meetings, providing his expertise on HR and policies, and I think all his work that he did at JCC, we benefit because he's bringing that to our agency all the time. Has a lot of important information. He helped with the recovery walk, participated with that as well, and so I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for our agency.
Most welcome.
You're like, oh.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Just again, one more round of applause for all of our Mission Mover Awards. All right, we're going to transition to the speaker, but while we do that, I'm not sure if we've got some technologies we got to figure out. Feel free to get coffee, water, check out our tables, our signs, but also there's a little QR code on your table. If you're taking pictures, we would love for you to take pictures, selfies, whatever you want to do. Upload it to that. Tony, our intervention manager, helps set that up, so we want to compile that into one location. So you might think this is weird, as we'll let you take a little break while we get Dr. James Lemoyne up here. So go ahead and take a quick break. Come on up. Mm-hmm. Without further ado, I'll let him introduce himself. James Lemoyne, Associate Professor from Buffalo University, University of Buffalo. So welcome.
Thank you. I got to use both?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got two microphones. Testing. Here we go. Okay. Who is excited for an hour-long lecture from a professor on your birthday party? Yeah, okay. Look around the room. Everyone who just applauded they're the liars in the room. Thank you very much for having me, and it's an honor. My name is Jim. Don't call professors Dr. Lemoyne, or it goes right to our heads. We're already narcissistic enough as it is. Hi, my name is Jim. Okay, you guys have been in Alcoholics Anonymous too. Cool, you know how that works. Fantastic. I am an associate professor of organizational psychology from SUNY up in Buffalo. So basically, most people don't know that organizational psychology exists, but it's the psychology of work. So for instance, why do some people hate their jobs? Here, let's start with some audience participation. What percentage of American adults do you believe hate their jobs? Call it out. 30% over here. 60 from the slightly more depressing gentleman in the front. 30, 40, 60? The correct answer is 82%. Which is depressing, right? I don't hate my job, I hope you don't hate yours, but my job, part of my job as an organizational psychologist is to figure out why and what we can do about that. And by the way, you think if you hate your job, you're more likely to leave? Of course you are, absolutely. So my research, I've written for Harvard Business Review, I've published in a lot of academic journals, and I focus on leadership, ethics, and retention, which is really the stuff I'm going to talk to you about today really quick. But first, I feel like we really need to say more about the fact that this is a birthday party. And since I walked in, I haven't seen anybody saying happy birthday. That's pretty. Yeah. Happy birthday, dear Prevention Works. Happy birthday to you. No, you're not big birthday people? Not singers, no? I mean, look, you're having a party for your birthday. You should celebrate 50 years. That's a big deal. My wife, when it's her birthday, all she asks me to do is not remind her of it. This is a big deal that we're together for this. But they told me outside maybe it's more of an anniversary. And that's why you guys are not singing. And I haven't seen a cake or anything like that. Is this a birthday or an anniversary? Help me out. All right, more of an anniversary. All right, yeah. My wife, now she does want us to celebrate our anniversary. The last time she said, take me somewhere I've never been before. And I said, how about the kitchen? And that was not a good idea. And I'm still, well, I won't show you my back anyway. But no, I mean, gentlemen, just so you know, don't use that line. The anniversary is the one day a year when husbands should act as they always should act, was what she told me. But don't worry, she still likes me. I mean, she even still laughs at my jokes after all these years. In fact, she laughs at a lot of things I do. I am here, though, to talk about retention and leadership. And this was a really important article that came out in Bloomberg Business Week right in the middle of COVID, when all that was going on. And it was actually the article that introduced the term the Great Resignation. And that term came to us from actually a gentleman I know. He's a professor. He's also an organizational psychologist over at Texas A&M. His name is Dr. Anthony Klotz. And he said he actually predicted the Great Resignation because his number one specialty is turnover. And he talked about how, we've got a lot of people who are about to just get fed up and leave. And, businesses, organizations, even not-for-profits, they're going to have a lot of issues trying to figure out what to do about them. And in my role, I get to read a lot of the research. I've conducted some of the research on this. Why is this happening? Why do people leave their jobs? And after reading a lot of newspaper articles, internet articles, magazine articles about why people leave their jobs, most of them are just wrong. Most of them are just, I read them and I'm like, this is not at all what the research says. So my plan today is to tell you a little bit about what the research says about this. And then research actually shows one of the best ways to learn is actually storytelling. Is to hear stories. I'm an American history buff, so I'm going to tell you 3 stories about my favorite leaders from American history. And I would encourage you, you're never going to be in the position these people were, but think about how you could incorporate these into your relationships, into your leadership style, because it's all backed by research. Research shows that there are 5 things. There are only really 5 things that affect someone's job satisfaction, how much they like their job. And you could probably guess most of these. Here they are. Pay. Could you guess that one? You ever heard that one? You ever think? Okay. Yeah. I can't read from this angle. The quality of your supervisor, basically your boss. Your coworker quality. The work itself, what you do. And I always pause here because the 5th one's the hardest. What is the 5th thing that is a primary factor of job satisfaction? Any guesses? Well, appreciation could be leaders and supervisors. It could be your people. Work-life balance could play into the work itself. It's actually, according to the research, promotion opportunities. Do you see a future for yourself with this organization? So there have been a lot of studies where we did one where we surveyed almost 100,000 U.S. working adults, and we focused on those 5 because the researchers said these are the really important things, and there they are over on the left listed in alphabetical order, all together, and we asked them what's most important. Can you rank these from most important to least important? All together now, what do you think everybody said was the most important thing out of those 5? Pay, look at that, and you're absolutely right. Wow, you don't need me here, you know this stuff. Number 2 was promotion opportunities. Number 3 was the quality of your supervisor, the quality of your boss. Number 4 was coworkers. And the least important thing was actually the work itself. When we survey, time and again, usually all things held equal, on average, these are the things this is how people rank. This is what's important to my job satisfaction. However, have you ever noticed a phenomena where sometimes you don't really know what you want? Or like you have kids or grandkids, and like they think they want something, and then they get it, and it's like, not so much. Or maybe, even with the kind of work a lot of you guys do, you know that sometimes we want the things that we don't really want so much. Things like, as the author Sloane Crosby said, sometimes we don't know what we want until we don't get it. So there were some other studies that looked at these same 5 things, but instead of just directly asking them what's most important to you, they actually analyzed these 5 and said, what actually gets people to stay at work and what actually makes people quit? So not directly asking them, but indirectly asking them by looking at the evidence. You understand what I'm talking about? Not just saying what is most important, but, okay, here's a job that's great in 4, one bad on 1. Will you stay or will you leave? And scientists used that evidence with even more people to try to figure out what is it of these 5 that is really driving people to go or to stay. So they did it a little bit of a different way, but this is actually what is driving retention, turnover, the Great Resignation. Now there's the 5 on the left, on the right-hand side rather, and they're in the order that people say they are important. What do you think when we did it this way popped out as the absolutely most important thing? Nope, not supervisor. Are you a supervisor? You're not that important. Supervisors are narcissists. Not coworkers, no. Nobody's saying pay. Nobody's saying pay? What did you say, ma'am? It's actually the work itself. What they do is the most important. And remember, on the last slide, it was last. People think it's the least important, but when it comes to what actually makes people happy, what actually drives retention, what actually drives turnover, what actually drives engagement, the number one most important thing is, do I like what I'm doing and do I feel like I get something out of it? And I'm gonna come back to that. I don't mean pay when I say get something out of it. I'm gonna come back to that in a second. What do you think is second on the list? Second most important thing that makes people leave or stay at a job? It's not pay. It's your boss. It is your boss. It is the quality of your relationship with your manager. Number 3 is, I hear it, it's coworkers, it's your team, it's the people you work for. People don't like to work with people they don't like to work with. You know what I'm getting at. Number 4 was promotion opportunity, and actually at the bottom of the list, and it wasn't even close, is pay. It wasn't even close. Now, that's easy for you to say. You're a professor, you don't have to deal with this. Yeah, you're right. But I do an experiment every year with my undergraduate students. You've heard, Gen Zs, the people who actually are leaving the most. And I describe 2 jobs to them, and I say, you're doing the same thing in both of them. One of them has about a 5% pay raise. The other one, you love your boss and you love the people you work with. Which one would you take? About 98% of people say they'd take less. So I bump it up. Here's a 10% pay raise. You can have 10% pay raise, and you don't know what it's going to be like. It's a new job, or you can stay at the job where you love your boss, you love your team. 95% of them say, I'm going to stay. I have to bump the raise up to like 25, 30% before I get a significant portion of them moving. There is a myth in the common business press and articles that people are leaving for pay, and for sure, some people are. But for the most part, people don't leave their jobs, they leave their bosses. They leave their teams. They leave places where they don't feel like they fit in. And this speaks to the importance of leadership. Good news is this stuff is easier for people to impact than pay and promotion opportunities because it's all about your attitude. It's all about the culture you set. These things are in your power a lot more than the bottom 2 in most organizations. So how do you do this? Let's start with the work itself. How do you make the work itself more enjoyable? There is research that shows there's 5 things that people love, make them stay about their jobs. Number 1, they get to do a bunch of different things. They get to work with a bunch of different people. They get to try some new things. It's variety. They're not just doing the same exact thing every day. Number 2 is autonomy. They don't have someone micromanaging them. They don't have someone constantly looking over their shoulder. They've got some freedom to try new things. Number 3 is feedback. They get regular feedback on how they're doing. And by the way, that feedback could come from their boss, or that feedback could come from watching a patient or a client and seeing how their life has improved. I mean, I don't think there's any better feedback than something like that. Number 4 is significance. Is what you do here significant? I mean, I heard some pretty good stuff here, right? But they've got to feel it. I'll talk a little bit about more on that. They've got to remember, because my own research shows, and this is especially true for people in healthcare and especially for people in mental health care and things like substance abuse, we get so bogged down in the patient difficulties, we get so bogged down in the paperwork and the bureaucracy, is it possible we sometimes forget the impact we're making? Did anybody get into this field because you wanted to get rich? You didn't have to laugh at that. You didn't have to, no. But if you're a manager, if you're a leader, managing a process like this, or if you're on the board, it's your job to remind people about the difference they're making. I'm going to come back to that. And then finally, identity. You've got to feel like what that means, this is an important part of who I am. I'm making a difference in the world, and I see the progress I'm making. I see that this patient, this client, their life is better because they worked with us. These are the things that make people really value the work itself. And I don't think it would be hard to implement a lot of these in organizations like what you're talking here, for-profit, not-for-profit, mental health, helping people. I think it all lends itself to this. But then there's leadership, the quality of your coworkers, the quality of your team. These are the other things that people like to leave, people like to stay. And this is where I want to transition. Let me talk to you about some great leaders and the things they've done. Let me see if you are smarter than the average University at Buffalo, State University of New York undergraduate. Can anybody tell me who this is? Well, okay, you're a little smarter than the average UB undergraduate. The last time I put this up on the screen, I asked them, okay, who can tell me for bonus credit, who was that up on the screen? And someone raised his hand. He said, that's George Washington, sir. And I said, yes, that's George Washington. That's him in his Revolutionary War Jeep as he was getting ready to cross the Potomac. And for a second, the student was like, so, yes, thank you. This is Dwight Eisenhower. For those who aren't familiar, it seems like most of you are, but just in case, this is one of my favorite U.S. presidents. Like I said, I'm a big history buff. This was the general who kicked Hitler's butt in the Atlanta campaign in that theater of World War II, and was also president of the United States. I want to tell you two stories about his leadership, and just think about what this means, how this could apply to what you do, if you don't mind. These are two of my favorite stories about him. Now, when you were in World War II and it was time to eat and you were an officer, you had a choice of where you could go eat. You go to the officer's tent. It was pretty nice. Sometimes they had tablecloths. Sometimes they had centerpieces. They had decent food, comfy chairs, kind of like the ones you had now. It wasn't bad. Or you could eat in what was called the enlisted men's tent. That's where you had to eat if you weren't an officer. And there you had a choice. You could have gruel or slop or mystery meat. Sometimes you had to eat on your lap. Some people even had to sit on the ground. I mean, it wasn't really the nicest place. Every chance I got, where did he eat? He went to the enlisted men's tent, and he didn't go with his cadre of senior officers, try to be important, with pomp and circumstance. He'd just go by himself, he'd get a tray, and he wrote in his journals, in his diaries, and other people, eyewitnesses corroborated this, that he would always walk up to the dirtiest, ugliest, lowest-ranking person he could find in the tent, just sit down right next to him, and he'd always start with the same line. Gentlemen, this is a great pickup line if you'd like to use it. Hey, soldier, how's the war going for you? And of course, the soldier would jump up, oh, General Eisenhower, sir. And he'd say, at ease, just want to share a meal, just want to take some time. Hey, how are you doing? How are you holding up? How are your buddies holding up on the front line? How's your family doing back home? Have you heard from them? They just talk for 10 minutes, just grow a personal connection. Then after that 10 minutes, Ike would ask the question he really wanted to ask. He said, soldier, I got one more question for you before we leave, before we break, and you got to answer it before we leave. Here was the question. What am I doing wrong? Now, what did the soldier say every damn time? I'm sorry, can I say damn? Was that okay? Where's Melanie? Are we, I don't see anybody insulted. I'm sorry. What did the soldier say every time? Nothing, General Eisenhower, sir. To which Eisenhower would say, according to multiple witnesses, every time, well, I'm not sure I can say that. You know what I'm getting at. He would say, BS, soldier, BS. He would say, and listen to this, listen to what the general said. He said, I know I am making mistakes every day, and I know innocent people are paying for them. And one of the reasons I'm making those mistakes is because I can't see what you see. Because I'm up in that command tent talking strategy with the officers, and I'm not down on the front lines. And he went a little further. He said, I know you and your buddies down in the trenches, every day you're looking around and going, why is High Command doing this? This is a bunch of idiots. If they could just see this, obviously they're here, we should do this. Soldier, you're right. Sometimes we are a bunch of idiots. I need you to tell me what you see that I don't so that I can correct my mistakes. So please, tell me what your perspective is. You see things that I don't. Have you ever had a manager who's asked you, hey, what am I doing wrong? Like, I've had one. In my entire career, I've had like 12 different bosses. Nobody at the university, certainly. One, her name was Janice, best boss I ever had. But he would ask that every chance he got. Now, he wrote in his journals that about 2/3 of the advice he got from the soldiers when he did this, about 2/3 of it wasn't really very good. Because they don't know military strategy, they don't know troop movements, they don't know logistics, things like that. Okay, what does that mean the other 1/3 is? It meant they were pretty good ideas. And he would go out of his way to make sure that those soldiers got to come up to the high command tent with them and that they got credit for their ideas. That's the kind of thing that builds loyalty. That's the kind of thing that builds retention. That's the kind of thing that makes people believe in you. I really want to hear your ideas for making this better. How could we better serve this county? How could we better fulfill our mission? Now here's one more for you. Apparently kicking Hitler's butt is really good in the Electoral College. Trump and Biden should try it because Ike was elected to 2 terms as the 34th President of the United States of America from 1952 to 1960. He is recognized by historians as here's a tougher one for you. He is recognized by historians as the last president of the United States who ever did blank. Fill in the blank. I'm sorry?
It was from the 1800s, born before 1900.
Oh gosh, I don't know. You got me beat on that one. That's not where I'm going though. Could have been. Wait, no? I don't know. The answer is historians recognize he was the last president of the United States who really made an effort and did a good job of working across the political aisle. Now, don't read too much into this because the parties meant something very different then, but Ike was a Republican, and for a lot of his term, he was dealing with a lot of Democrats in Congress, and they got stuff done. In fact, I used something that he got done to get here today. What was it? The highways, right? The Eisenhower Interstate Highway System. What year were cars invented, ladies and gentlemen? Do you have any guess? It was like the 1890s. Now think about this. 1890s cars were invented. We're just building the roads 60 years later. Why? Because the government couldn't get its act together. I'm sure you guys wouldn't believe anything like that, right? Because the government couldn't get its act together and actually get it done. Ike was the one that got Congress and the executive branch on the same page and make this happen. If you ever are in Buffalo and happen to be at the University at Buffalo, I'd invite you to come by my office. On the wall, I've got a letter on White House letterhead, 1959, signed by Ike. He's writing to one of his Republican cabinet members saying, hey, the Democrats in Congress have a really good idea around textiles, and I think we should help them with it. Can you work with them on that? I can't imagine any of our politicians in either party doing that today. He didn't care who got the credit. He didn't care who looked good as long as things happened that helped the people who depended on him. So I think he's a great example of leadership. And as a professor of leadership, I'm always trying to figure out what this word means. Because, you know, like, that's a tough one, right? What does leadership mean? His definition is actually my favorite. Here it is. Leadership is getting people to do what you want them to do because they want to do it. Not because they have to. Not because they're forced to. Not because you're their boss. Not because you're looking over their shoulder. Not because they want to raise. Not because they want to avoid a pay cut. Not because they're scared of you. But because they look at you and what you stand for and what this organization does, and they're like, damn, that is worth doing. That is worth doing. You know what I'm talking about? You ever have a leader like that? I want to be a part of this. They're making a difference. I believe in my leader. They've got their head in the right place. Getting people to do what you want them to do, not because they have to, but because they want to do it. I'm seeing some nods, so I guess that makes sense. And by the way, that's leadership. Management is telling people what to do. Supervision is telling people what to do. This is the stuff, according to our research, that makes people stay. Because leaders like this are rare. It is so much easier to say, do it because I'm your boss, or just do it because it's your job. That doesn't motivate anybody. That's the kind of leadership this world needs right now. Now, I am a big fan of Ike, and I hesitate to say this, but like during COVID, I was alone on campus and really bored. And yes, I went to the office every day during COVID because everybody else ran away, so I had the whole campus to myself. It was awesome. It was the safest place in the world. And let me tell you, some of you will understand this, the men's restrooms have never been cleaner. It was awesome. I'm bored, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I love Ike, I like Ike, I love Ike, but I think maybe it's missing something. And it's another really important element the research shows for retention. Yes, leadership is all about motivating and inspiring, but that's not the extent of your job if you dare to call yourself a leader. Part of your job is also this, and helping them to accomplish things they didn't know they were capable of. Seeing some nods again, I added that bit. I mean, think about this. Have you had someone in your life that by the time they were done with you, you were more than what you were? Or you believed you were capable of greater things? Maybe it was a parent, or a grandparent, or an aunt, or an uncle, or a brother, or a sister. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was a coach. For me, it was my high school agriculture and woodshop teacher. I would not be here today without my 9th grade agriculture and woodshop teacher. There's always someone, probably in our lives, like you wouldn't be here today if that person hadn't believed in you. You call yourself a leader, that's your job to be that person for your team. And by the way, no matter how much money you offer to pay them, people don't leave those leaders. We see this again and again and again in our research. If you genuinely feel like I am growing because I'm working with my leader, not only does that make you like them more, that makes you feel like you owe them. So you're not going anywhere. You've got that loyalty, and I don't think we've got a lot of leaders that do that stuff. Is this making sense? Seeing some nods? Okay. You seem to like the stories. Let me give you another one. I'm going to tell you a story about a man with a stellar mustache. Now, let me say right up front, I noticed coming in, you, sir, have a stellar mustache. Okay? And he knew I was going to point at him. He's like, you damn right I got a stellar mustache. I could twirl this puppy. And I'm so insanely jealous because I am 1/8 Native American and I've got just the right mix. I can't grow facial hair. So I can't do that. I've always wanted to. Like, Melanie, I'm sure you feel the same way. Could you grow? You couldn't grow that. Absolutely not. I mean, sure, it makes you jealous, right? But as jealous as I feel looking at you, sometimes I look at this guy. And I'm like, wow. This is a picture of Joshua. Let me see how I'm doing on time here. Very good. This is a picture of Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. Have any of you ever heard of this person? I got one or two or three, just a few. I think this is one of the most important people in American history. I feel really strongly about this. So let me tell you his story. And as I'm telling this story, I want you to imagine that you are in this situation because it's nonfiction, because I'm going to ask you what you would do. All right? Let's start. Just imagine. Imagine that you've got that glorious mustache streaming down your face as I'm telling this story. All right? Like most great American heroes, like the greatest Americans of all time, what was Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain's profession? What did he do for a living? Yes? He was a professor. There you go. That's all we need to hear. He was a professor. Very good. You know what you're talking about. Actually specialized in mathematics. When the Civil War started, he did not join the Union Army. He was at the University of Maine. He didn't join the Union Army because he wrote in his journal, it's just a minor insurrection. He actually used that word. It'll just last a few months. I'm sure it'll be over in no time. There's no need for me to leave my family. Well, 6 months, 9 months passed. He realized, well, this is a pretty big deal. I feel strongly about the cause. He signed up, went to officer's school. This is his story. This is your story. You've got that mustache. It is July 2nd, 1863. It is the eve of the Battle of Gettysburg. Gettysburg's in what state? Pennsylvania. You know, my students struggle with that one. Very good. Pennsylvania. The Civil War is between the North and the South. Now think about this. Here's what people don't realize a lot. If the good guys are fighting so far north, how are we doing? Not great. This is actually the moment where it looks like the Union's going to lose the Civil War. In fact, a lot of people don't know this. At this point in the Civil War, Washington, D.C. was completely surrounded by Confederate troops. There were no Union troops in there. Lincoln was there. He was vulnerable. If the Confederate troops had moved in, the Civil War would have been over and we would have lost. The only reason that didn't happen was because the Confederate generals were chosen based on the political favors they did for Jefferson Davis and not their bravery and not their military knowledge, so they were cowards and they didn't know what they were doing, so thank God. But still, looks bad. The Confederates pushed all the way north. You are Colonel Chamberlain. You're going to fight in this war tomorrow. You are assigned, well, you command the 20th Maine. You started out with 1,600 men. You're down to 250 because, well, war is hell. You've got a lot of soldiers gone. You are considered the weak link of the Union Army. You are assigned to guard a position of some strategic importance, guarding the artillery so the Confederates don't take it. It's called Little Round Top. You've probably heard of that one, right? That probably rings a bell. You're assigned to guard that. You go and check it out, and you're like, this is a pretty big expanse. I've only got 250 men, so you send a message to high command saying, I can't. You need to assign another unit to do this. It's too much. You get a message back saying, nope, it's yours, go do it. So you send a message back saying, okay, fine, we'll do it. Send me more soldiers. You get a message back from high command saying there are no more soldiers. You've just got to do it with what you've got. Finally, you send a third message where you say, look, it's impossible. We'll lose the battle. We'll lose the position. We'll lose the war. You've got to send us more soldiers. High command sends the message back, fine. Here's 120 mutineers from the 2nd Maine who've been ordered. That's a fun word. We don't use it. Mutineers. Say that one. Mutineers. That's fun. We should use that more often. So history is not sure why these 120 men are so angry, but here is their best guess. Would you believe it was a federal paperwork error? That would never happen, would it? Here's what they think happened. These men, 19th century, no public education system, they cannot read or write. They signed a contract, well, I say signed, they put an X on a contract for military service for 2 years. But there was a mix-up. Instead of Xing on a 2-year contract, they never knew it, they X'd a 3-year contract. And look at it's 1863, they joined in 1861, so the 2 years are up right now. and they saw their friends going home. They thought they were going home to their families, to their friends, to their farms, to their wives, to their lives. And then men with guns showed up and said, hey, you can't go. You got a year left on your contract. And they said, no, I don't. I signed a 2-year contract. They're like, no, you signed a 3. Look right here. Can't you read? And they're like, no. You understand why they might be a little angry, right? And this is all you've got, Colonel Chamberlain. You've got these 120 men. You, Colonel Chamberlain, one more message to High Command. What the hell am I going to do with 120 men I got to keep under armed guard who are trying to leave, who won't even fight? High Command replies, well, you've got the right to shoot them if they disobey you. That would be treason. That would be going AWOL. Like just threaten them, force them. You can do this. Okay. And remember, this is a pretty extreme case. What am I talking about today? I'm talking about retention and leadership. So you, mustache guy, you, Colonel Chamberlain, you are going to give a speech to the men before the battle. You are going to try to convince them to fight at your side. I'm going to shut up for 5 seconds. I want you to just think about the great leaders you've had, everything you know about leadership. And I want you to consider, if you were in this situation, because everything I just told you is true, if you were in this situation that he was in, what would you say to them? Okay, deep breath. I'm not looking for a passionate speech, but would anybody like to share the gist of what you've got?
I know you don't want to be here, but.
I know you don't want to be here, but too bad.
I'm like you, I'm from Maine. I'm one of you.
We're all from Maine. Screw these other guys, they're not from Maine. Let's go shoot us some Southerners. I'm allowed to say this because I'm from the South. I'm allowed to say this. We can save the Union. Go with me. These are good answers. These are much better than the answers sometimes I get. I'll never forget one time I was telling this story. I was doing a presentation at a toy company. And there was a lady sitting, it was like at the back middle table, about by you guys over here. And she had a pink, a very bright pink dress and pink shoes and a little pink hat. And I don't know, that was nice. Okay. And I will never forget this. She stood up. I'm going to do an impression for you of this lady when I asked this question. Well, this sounds like a difficult situation. So I want to make sure they're paying attention. So before I started to talk, I'd walk right over to one of them and shoot them in the head. And that way, they'd all be listening to me. And I look around the room, and like the senior managers are in the room, and they're all doing this. And me, obviously having little kids, I'm like, what the hell? This is a toy company. What are you doing to my children? Where do you work, ma'am? Well, I help pick what toys go in the Happy Meals. Oh, gee. So that's not a bad answer. So this speech actually did happen. My students are shocked, absolutely shocked, I tell you, when I tell them that there are no surviving YouTube clips of this speech on the internet. I've had one just insist, I can find this, it's probably on Apple Video. No, you're probably not going to find it. But what we do have are, we have the soldiers' journals. We have the officers' diaries. We have Chamberlain's own diary. We have some letters that they wrote home. Historians have tried to piece this speech together because it was really short. It wasn't more than a couple of minutes. I've got basically what historians have put back together. These probably aren't the exact words except the first line and the last line. Historians are pretty confident on those. But this is just about what Chamberlain actually said in this exact situation. And again, think of this from a leadership and retention sense, okay? He said, I've been told that if you don't come with me and serve in this Union Army, I can shoot you. But you know, I'm not going to do that. Not to one of you, not to good Maine men. We're down below half strength. The Confederates are coming, and we need you. There's no doubt about that. So many of us have come. Many of us served. Many of us died. But we did it because it was the right thing to do. We're an army going out to set other men free. So what we're fighting for in the end is for each other. We don't know the future. We can't plan for it much. But the cause for which we fight is higher. The cause is greater. The cause is better. Our thought is more powerful. This thought is our power. This is why we should win. But this is my thought right now. I think if we lose this fight, the war will be over. We'll lose the whole damn war. So if you choose to come with us, I'll be personally grateful. And that was the whole speech. Dude, I got chills running down my spine every time I read that. Do you like that speech? Like, I love that speech. So, 120 men, right? After that speech, 114 said, we'll fight for you. Most of them said, we won't fight for anybody else, but we'll fight for you. 6 of them said, I'm sorry, this union has done me too wrong. I can't fight, but I won't cause any trouble, and I won't try to run away. And Colonel Chamberlain said, I'll see to it that you're treated fairly. I understand. So 114 out of 120, not bad. Not bad. Next morning, Little Round Top, they're doing fantastic. Not only are they defending the position, they're taking Confederate prisoners, but unfortunately, as the hours drag on, the Confederates from the top of Little Round Top, instead of hearing pow, 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 they start hearing pow, click, click, pow. What is happening to the good guys? We're running out of ammunition. Now, you're a Union soldier. You're up there, you're out of bullets. Those Confederates are charging with their guns. What do? See, it's always a guy who's like, yeah, I'm going to do a bayonet. I'm going to get my gun. We'd run like hell. Let's be honest. We'd probably run like hell. Fortunately, as you know, that's not what happened. Here's a picture that was taken with an iPhone 1 on that day. History's not clear if it was Chamberlain himself or one of his senior officers who had the idea for the bayonet charge, but here's how it worked. Have any of you ever been to the Gettysburg Memorial Park? It's real nicely manicured, it looks good. Back then, it didn't look like that. Back then, there were weeds up to here. It was overgrown, it was ugly. So all they did was, they just knelt down. They just knelt down and they had their bayonets ready. The Southerners, they're coming up there and they're getting kind of cocky. They're like this. Next thing you know, they got a bayonet in the chest, and luckily there was an intrepid young man there with an iPhone 1 to take the picture so we could all see what it looked like. I am not a military genius, and neither are you, so I'm not going to get into the details, but it basically set off a chain reaction across the battlefield. It completely overran this Confederate unit and freed Chamberlain's men up to attack a different Confederate unit, which freed a different Union up to create basically domino effect. This was the moment that won the Battle of Gettysburg. The Battle of Gettysburg is considered by Civil War historians as the turning point of the Civil War. And the Civil War is the moment that changed the nation. And if we say, as we should, that race relations and discrimination still have a long way to go in America, absolutely, but imagine how much further back we'd be if the bad guys had won that war. So this is a moment that really, and it all came back to that speech. So as a leadership professor, as someone who is interested in getting people to stay when they've got every reason to go home to walk out that door, what can we learn from this speech? Well, I think the first thing is he didn't coerce, he persuaded. What is the worst thing you could do to your employees, to the people where you work? If you don't like them, if they've done something wrong, what's the worst thing you can do to them? You can punish them? You say bribe them? Okay. I've never heard that one before. You can threaten them, you could fire them. Is anybody allowed to kill them where you work? Is that a... Some of you, I'm not going to point. I saw someone in this audience go, so, all right, if you can do that, fantastic. That's good for you. But here's the thing. At this moment of absolute, complete importance, hopefully we will never be in a situation that is so important to so many people. He had more power than any of us will ever have. He could literally kill all 120 of them and there would be no legal repercussions. He could do that. In the very first line of his speech, did you notice that? Very first line, he said, I'm not going to do that. He gave away all of his power. That is not human nature, ladies and gentlemen. We are conditioned, especially by Western society, to hoard and accumulate power. We do not like the idea of giving it up. His senior officers wrote in their diary that the modern equivalent, they facepalmed when he did this. What the hell is he doing? How is he giving up all our leverage over these people when we need them so badly? Does that make any sense at all? Well, Chamberlain wrote in his diary that people thought he was stupid for doing this, but he wrote this: no man ever worked hard or fought well because he was forced to. People only give their best effort when they want to. We're back to the definition of leadership, right? And there's so much leadership research, my own and that of people much smarter than me, that says most managers coerce. Most managers just say, you got to do it, it's your job. You've got to do it or you'll get fired. Leaders persuade. What do they persuade people of? Well, one thing they persuade people of is this, that what we do here is noble and worth doing. Think about where you work for a second, whether it's Prevention Works or somewhere else, if you're one of the great partners in this room. Where you work, is what you do noble and worth doing? I heard a yes. Okay, someone tell me why. Where you work is noble and worth doing. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Because I enjoy what I do, helping people. I'm a Senator Borrello. I've worked for 4 state senators. People call me sometimes with the most outrageous, sad, truly unbelievable stories, and they need guidance. They might need to get a hold of a sheriff. I've talked with Mr. Drosky's office in years past, and the current one now, for a variety of different things, or I need to communicate with the county executive, or they don't know where the mental hygiene office is. So everything I do is trying to kind of guide and smooth out things.
You're helping a lot of people in a lot of different
And
ways.
I get to be at events like this.
And you get to get free breakfast. Best of all worlds. Fantastic. Oh, I've got so many political jokes that I'm holding back right now. Someone else, where you work is what you do noble and worth doing. Give me one more. Anybody else in the room? Why? What makes it noble and worth doing? It's making the community a better place. I'll take that. I'll take that. And here, this applies to all kinds of organizations. In Buffalo, I do the keynote address for the United Way and their executive leadership development program. And there's basically executives from like the 20 biggest companies in Buffalo in the room. A few years ago when I did this, there were 2 banks. Okay? I'm not going to tell you which 2. Maybe you can figure it out. But there's 2 banks, but about the same size. They offer the same goods and services. And I asked this question. I went around the room, table by table, and I said, is what you do noble and worth doing? Someone from the First stands up, an executive, First Bank, and he says, well, we're a bank. I mean, this sounds great for you not-for-profits and charities, and I really support that. That's fantastic. But that's not what we do. We invest money. We make money for our stockholders. This is what we're for. And he sits down, mild applause. Keep working my way around the room. We get to the second bank, and they're waiting for this. Like the lady, the executive, she shoots up, and she says, we're a bank. Of course what we do is noble and worth doing. We help people afford their dreams. We help people buy their first house. We help people send their kids to college. We help people retire in comfort. What could be more worth doing than that? And the room bursts out into applause, and I really feel a little bad for the other bank. But you see the point that I'm getting at? Like sometimes it's the way you think about it. I guarantee you, management, the culture in Bank 2 is a lot different than the culture in Bank 1. The culture in Bank 2 talks about, here's how what we do makes a difference. And let me get back to organizations like Prevention Works. You ever feel like this? That's your to-do list? You ever feel like that's your to-do list? My own research shows that in healthcare organizations and in educational organizations, those 2, and especially in mental health-related organizations and substance abuse, we get so caught up in the day-to-day. You get so caught up in the red tape. You get so caught up in the difficult patients and the patient problems, and sometimes it's the patient families. And then don't even get me started on reimbursement. You get so caught up on all this. Is it possible that sometimes we and your people forget why you're doing this in the first place? That's what my research shows is it's very possible. That people who again, nobody gets into this field because they want to be rich. They do it because they want to help people. But they get so tied up with the minutiae of this stuff that they don't realize how much they're helping people. They get beat down, they get depressed, they're like, I'm not sure I can do this anymore, and they leave. And actually, research shows a lot of them go to be elementary school teachers, which, God bless you, that's not going to be much better. If you dare to call yourself a leader in this field, may I encourage you, it is your job to remind your people on a regular basis, hey, I know that patient interaction was really difficult, but think of the difference you made for them. I know that patient's family was a little hard to work with, but think of the difference you made for all of them. I know that was rough, but you just made your colleague's life down the hall a whole lot easier. Think about what you're doing for the county by what you're doing, one person at a time. Can I encourage you once a week? Once a week, you should have that conversation with someone you work with. Hell, even if you're not in a leadership role. This is the stuff that makes people stay when they remember, hey, this is why I got into this in the first place. I feel good about making a difference in the world. There are very few things that are a stronger retaining force than that. And to me, that's a mark of true leadership. Chamberlain persuaded them that they had a better future if they came together for the goal, respected them, tried to help them, but reminded them, like, you've got to go help others, turn the tide of a war, change the course of a nation. That's the kind of thing I call servant leadership, which is what I specialize in, what I write a lot about, and this is especially well-suited for healthcare, education, mental health, things like that. Leadership around, hey, what kind of a difference are we making? And it's also about pushing people to make sure you're getting everything out of them, to help them be more than they were. Here's a little psychological secret for you. Did you know that your subconscious is afraid of failure? Your subconscious is extraordinarily afraid of failure to the point that you, me, and everybody else in this room, we will all set goals that are way too easy for ourselves. We will all set goals that we really know we could accomplish, but we're giving ourselves that little padding so we don't fail. You know what I'm talking about? So think about this. If everybody does that, that means the people you work with are doing that. If the people you work with are doing that, that means they are not living up to their potential. That means they don't know their potential. And if you call yourself a leader, it is your job to push them to that potential. Does this make sense? Now that takes courage. You got to get people to be brave. And that's the last story that I have to tell you about the person I think was the bravest person in American history. Now history does not remember her by her real name. Her real name was Araminta Minty Ross. Does anybody know what famous historical figure that's actually her real name? Any guesses in the room? I'm sorry? Wow, nobody ever knows this. So Minty Ross married John Tubman. And for reasons that the world will never know, she wouldn't tell anybody, she wouldn't even tell her best friend, her biographer. The day she was married, she changed her first name from Minty to her mother's first name, Harriet. This is one of my favorite pictures of Harriet Tubman. This is a mural on the side of the museum in Cambridge, Maryland, which is a really cool place to visit. Now, we all know the media we have issues with our national media these days, right? We complain about it. We think it's too harsh. Let me tell you, they got nothing on the newspapers of the 1850s. As a history buff, I like to go back and read articles and letters that were actually written way back then. And if you look at the southern newspapers in the 1850s, the big, rich plantation owners were taking out full-page editorials and advertisements in which they would describe in graphic and excruciating R-rated detail the tortures they would inflict on Harriet Tubman when they caught her, because she was a symbol, and they couldn't afford for that symbol to be around. And yet, even with these great threats against her, to her well-being, to her family's well-being, she kept going back again and again, freed almost 100 slaves. Her biographer asked her, "Why do you keep going back when you were free?" And Harriet Tubman told her when she first crossed that state line and she became a free woman, she looked to her left and she looked to her right. She didn't see her family. She didn't see her friends. She didn't see her people. She didn't see the people she cared about. And how could she be happy when the people she cared about so much were suffering? So she felt a religious drive. She had to go back. She said that was the Christian thing to do. And what's more, this is going to be hard for us to understand in the modern time. She told her biographer that the hardest part about freeing all those slaves was not evading the plantation owners, was not evading the police, was not hiding at the side of the road, was not being sneaky. It was the fact that almost always, about midway through the journey as it was getting rough, believe it or not, a lot of the slaves actually wanted to go back. A lot of these African Americans were scared because they didn't know what they were getting into, and they had people hunting them, and they'd never been anything more than they had been before, and they didn't know what the future held for them. And Harriet Tubman said that the hardest part of her job was she had to share her courage with them. She had to make them believe that they could be more than what they'd been their whole life, that there was a big future that they'd never even considered. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you dare to call yourself a leader in this field, I want to encourage you to consider it is your job to make people think about things like this. Okay, so you've only got a couple minutes left. So I've told a couple of stories. I've given you some research results. Let me just close. I'm going to give you just some really practical things you can do, according to the research, to put this stuff into practice. Here's one. Are you talking to everyone daily? Now, I have done a lot of research in mental health treatment centers, and I know that it is easy to get in a point where you are so busy you just don't have time to talk to this person or that person or that person. But can I encourage you, even a text, saying, hey, thinking of you, I hope everything's going well today. Sorry I haven't had a chance to talk to you. You should be talking to your people every chance you get. And you're the leader. What have you done to make this the kind of culture people want to work in? My own research shows, and research from people much smarter than me, don't worry, shows that if one person in a group talks a lot consistently about, hey guys, this is the difference we're making in people's life, other people pick it up. You are a role model. If you're in a leadership role, you are a role model whether you like it or not. If one person starts talking, hey, think of the difference we made for that patient and her family, everybody's going to start talking that way. But it's got to start with you. Are you reminding your team of the difference they make in people's lives? Can you enhance the feedback they get, their work variety, their autonomy? Remember when I told you these are the things that make people really like the work they do? Can you give them a little variety? Hey, go do that person's job for a little while. Can you give them a chance to make their job better, to make their job make more sense? Things like that. Have you talked to them recently about their goals and careers? Here's a mistake managers make all the time. Think about what you want for the future. Like, why do you do what you do? Why are you in this? Some people would say, I'm in it for the money. Some people would say, I want a promotion. Some people would say, I just like to help people. Whatever your answer for that is, whatever motivates you to do well, you assume it motivates everyone else. We all do this. Whatever motivates you, whatever is your long-term goal, you subconsciously assume it's everyone else's long-term goal, and so you try to motivate them with that, but sometimes you're wrong. So you should talk to your people about, what are you after? What motivates you? What are you in this for? Why did you get into this career in the first place? And how can I help you achieve your goals? And that's the last thing. And this comes from Robert Greenleaf, who is the gentleman who founded the idea of servant leadership back in 1970 in an essay called The Servant as Leader, which the business press didn't like very much, by the way. He wrote one of the most important and simple things any manager can do, any leader can do, every chance you get. Most managers, they'll ask something like, what are you doing today to help us accomplish our goals? I've heard that question a lot. What are you doing today to help us accomplish our goals? Servant leader might ask instead, what can I do today to help you accomplish your goals? What can I do today to help you accomplish your goals? And I guarantee you, if you start asking that question regularly, you're going to have a more collaborative workforce. You're going to learn about problems you didn't know existed because your people thought I'd just deal with them myself. You're going to hear about things, roadblocks that you can eliminate, things you can fix to make their lives easier, to make their lives better, that make them think, wow, my boss really cares about me. This is someplace that I want to stay. So this is a 50-minute version of what the research says are the most powerful tools in our tool belt to help us combat turnover, to extend retention, to defeat the Great Resignation. We look at people's jobs and we try to make them more fulfilling, but we also create these cultures through our leadership by doing things like the 6 tips I've given you there. That said, I hope there's one thing here. There's just one thing here you can pull and try. If I could give you a challenge, sometime in the next week, ask one person at work, what can I do today to help you accomplish your goals? Easy as that. It'll take you 10 seconds to do and see what comes of it. That is my challenge to you. But in the meantime, let me say again, happy anniversary. Most organizations don't make it 1 year. To make it 50 in this extraordinarily difficult field, this is a cause for celebration. This is a wonderful thing in this community, and I hope everyone in this room is just trying to imagine how many people's lives have been changed over the last 50 years. And because that person's life was changed, how many lives did they change? Lives did they change? You want to talk about domino effects? I have no doubt that hundreds of thousands of people their lives were made better because of what this organization has done. So God bless. Happy anniversary. This should be a time for celebration. Hey, if you'd like to learn more about any of this research, please do reach out to me. There's my email address up on there. I'm up there. I'm on LinkedIn as James Lemoyne as well. And if you're interested in participating in some of this research, there's no cost to it. Feel free to reach out to me. I work with organizations all the time. Thanks for having me. Happy anniversary again.
Thank you so much, Jim.
I wanted to say again to everybody, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it. We hope we're here in 50 more years to celebrate our 100th anniversary. Speaking to what Jim was saying about leaders, I'm very honored to be here today with all of you that are truly leaders that I have grown from, whether it's board of directors, associate director Lori Reynolds, Kelly Potter, director of Hope Chautauqua Coalition, all of my staff, or our team that we work with on a daily basis, and our partners and our funders. We've learned a lot from all of you, so thank you so much for being here today. Last but not least, County Executive PJ Wendell left a bunch of Solar Eclipse glasses. They are on the table outside, so as you are leaving, please feel free to take one of those.